kind of takeaway from this kind of trip is patience. I would say patience for a number of reasons. I think in general, when you go to these big mountains, you have to wait for weather, you have to wait for your body, you have to wait for your mind, you have to be ready to go up.
Your mind doesn't have a lot of energy to wander. So in a way, it's kind of nice because your energy is all going to taking one very slow step at a time. The trip really started flying into Lhasa. We flew over a lot of the Himalayas. When we got to base camp, that's at 16,400 feet. Base camp is basically like a stop on the side of the road. Like it's basically glorified car camping. We got there in the middle of the day, even at that altitude. It was so hot. That's one of the crazy things about the Himalayas and this trip is that you experience such extreme temperature differences.
Our first morning here at base camp, and in all its glory, Cho Oyu is out. That's the goal.
After 2 nights there, we made the move to advanced base camp, which is 18,700 feet. That day hiking up, I was really struggling. I have to say the trip has been a little bit more challenging to this point than I thought it would be. You know, it's a lot of energy at these elevations, and yeah, I'm not feeling 100%.
Prince Caroline into advanced base camp.
Advanced base camp is where we spent the bulk of our time on the expedition. We did what's called a puja ceremony. Buddhist Lama comes up to do this ceremony, and it's basically a blessing to allow safe passage through the mountains. They put barley flour on your face, and you're throwing barley flour. You have music and dancing. After this, it was like a big party all afternoon. What I love the most about traveling the world as a ski mountaineer is seeing the way people climb mountains culturally and the cultural differences. Just to see and to experience the puja ceremony, to me that was like the ultimate treat. After the puja ceremony, I started to feel really, really tired and really sick, and I started to have this cough that just got worse and worse. One of the ways we test to see how well we're acclimatizing is by measuring our blood oxygen saturation levels. And so, like when you get to a new altitude, your blood oxygen saturation is usually pretty low, like it would be in the mid-70s, but then to show that you're acclimatizing well, it would increase. And mine, it like went up a little bit, but then it started to go down, and then that day I got really sick and I was feeling awful and so tired. My blood oxygen saturation started tanking into the mid-60s.
And it became pretty apparent pretty quickly that Caroline needed to go down.
Didn't even have the energy to do that hike because I was feeling so sick. We decided that I should go on supplemental oxygen, and so I actually used oxygen to walk out of advanced base camp to go to base camp. Being one of the only women on the trip and being one of the younger people there, I felt really ashamed because to be having to go down and to walk down on supplemental oxygen, like no one uses oxygen at those altitudes. I guess sometimes when something like that happens to you and when you are one of the only women, you kind of feel like an embarrassment to all women.
I was thinking, well, are we going home? And if she's going home, do I go home?
Hey everybody, how's it going? Wanted to send you a quick update. I am back at base camp. I had to descend from advanced base camp back down because I wasn't feeling well, but I'm on the mend. After 4 days, we had been monitoring all my vitals and my stats and communicating them to the rest of the team. And the high altitude doctor, she told me there's no medical reason why you can't go back up the mountain. And I did not want to, because to be in that much hurt as I had been before, I couldn't wrap my head around going back up the mountain. But she told me, Caroline, you've done way harder things than this on skis before. She gave me a lot of mental coaching, and she told me we have deeper reserves than we think. Those 4 days that I spent being sick at base camp, it meant we were on a really tight time crunch, and there was only 1 day for the summit before there would be another storm coming.
We leave ABC today for our summit bid, so we get an American breakfast. Even butter. Ooh, syrup.
We're about to leave advanced base camp. The team is ready. We're packed up. We are heading over to the site of our puja to have a mini juniper ceremony for a final blessing.
Like a prayer like this. Okay.
So this is go time. We are crossing the beloved talus here, becoming one with the glacial moraine, and we are making our way to Camp 1, and then to Camp 2, and then, if all goes to plan, to the summit. And it's just, there's been so much building to this moment, and it's hard not to be like a little bit of butterflies. But you know, again, it's like a big mountain like this, it can seem insurmountable. So just breaking it down into the pieces and then celebrating those little victories along the way.
You're kind of just moving at the pace to keep yourself from exhaustion.
So we're up at Camp 1. Beautiful sunset, Cho Oyu. Camp 1. We wake up. It's time to make our way to Camp 2. Continuing up to Camp 2. Slow and steady.
Okay, a little rest between Camp 1 and the ice cliff.
Once we arrived at Camp 2, it was like, this is real. You really feel the fragility of life at that altitude. It's kind of scary, but it's also kind of awesome and exciting.
We just got to Camp 2. We're blowing up pads. That was the first job at 23,500 feet.
A beautiful sunset happening out there. And Rob and I are in here on our oxygen. Just went for a walk outside. We're a bit over 7,000 meters. And we're at Camp 2.
Cooking some mac and cheese.
We're about to cook some mac and cheese for dinner, and hot damn, it's a pretty special place to be. We went outside at sunset and we just witnessed the most beautiful sunset over the Himalayas. And then we hunkered down for the evening because we're planning to wake up at 11 p.m. to start hiking. It's about 11:40 and it's our summit day on Cho. We're feeling stoked, we're feeling ready.
Summit morning, here we go. It's a about 1 o'clock. We're just about to head out. It's go time.
And then we get to the yellow band. And the yellow band is the technical crux on Cho Oyu. And it's about 7,500 meters. It's fourth class climbing, rock climbing in crampons. Because my petite stature, I felt like I could find these great footholds and I have really strong legs. Just felt totally in my element. About 200 meters from the summit, we got stuck behind a team of 30 people. And it was at that time the sun was starting to rise, but it wasn't hitting us yet. And there was this really intense crosswind, and I was feeling so cold. And I felt like any exposed skin on my face was gonna get frostbite. And at that point, I almost thought about turning around. We persevered, and when the sun first hit our faces, it was just like everything changed. From the top of that last steep climb, you have about a quarter mile more at 8,000 meters to get to the summit, and it's on this totally flat plateau at the top. And then, at that moment on the summit, I dropped down on one knee and I popped the question. I said, "Robert James Lee, will you marry me?" And he said yes. Thank goodness. Otherwise, it would have been a long hike down together. We're rappelling the yellow band. I skied from the summit until here, and I decided not to ski that beautiful powder-filled bowl because it had been getting wind-loaded all morning. So we just got down to Camp 2 from the summit, and we spent about an hour resting, packing here. Here's the scene. How are you feeling, Rob?
Helping out with the O's again.
Yeah.
Pretty good, feeling better. What a rest.
It's already been like a 12-hour day, and we got some distance to cover. Between Camp 2 and Camp 1, some clouds rolled in. We had some steep rappels to get over the ice fall. And then we skied down to Camp 1. 3, 2, 1. I can't believe we did it. We summited. And I skied most of Cho. One of the hardest things in life is to be true to yourself. When the mountains speak to you and call you to them, it's important to listen and to do what makes you come alive. And we all have deeper reserves than we think. Sometimes you have to follow your heart and go see these places to show the world how special they are, so we can all fight for their protection.
A big takeaway from the trip was patience, and I'll take that quality into everything I do in life. And if at first you don't succeed,
go back down to base camp, rest for 4 days,
and try again.
So after a successful summit of Cho Oyu, we have decided in spring of 2019 that we are going to climb, and I'm gonna ski part of Everest. Woo! Woo! And that is part of Rob's bigger project. He came up with this crazy ultimate world triathlon.
I'm going to attempt to swim the English Channel, ride my bike across America, and climb Everest all in a 6-month period during 2019.
And we have a wedding to plan, so it's gonna be totally crazy. Follow along on our social media channels and stay tuned for more. That is disgusting.
Those dogs are barking.